Okay, so we continue with the Orchos Tzadikim, Shaar Hasimcha. So as we mentioned in the past a number of times, that there's a big focus on bitachon in Shaar Hasimcha because the way to reach true simcha is only through bitachon. So we are in the middle of 8 concepts of bitachon. We said in the past, the parallels, it's very close to the Chayvus Lavavas in Shaar Bitachon. And the Orchos Tzadikim here is going through 8 different areas of bitachon that a person has to have, and that's going to lead him or her to simcha. So we'll just do a recap. I think we are up to number 6. So do a quick recap of the first 5, and then we'll see 6, 7, and 8. Ezer Hashem. The first one was Inyane Haguf. A person has bitachon in Hashem in Inyane Haguf, which means that her health is in the hand of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. So that doesn't mean that I don't take my health seriously. Of course, if I'm sick, a person is sick, you must go to the doctor. One must eat right and exercise. But realizing at the same time, while I'm going through the motions, at the end of the day, it's a Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to decide if the person is sick or healthy. That was the first area of bitachon. The second area of bitachon was the inyan haparnasa, a person's livelihood. Sometimes people get very into the means. They get and they don't focus on the ends. The Kadosh Baruch Hu is the one at the end of the day who controls all parnasa, and we have to dive into him for that. But that being said, again, one has to still be oisik in parnasa, has to pursue a profession to support his family, but still realize and have bitachon that Hashem will be mazgin lo yitzrachim. Hashem is going to provide for him all his needs. The third area of bitachon is when it comes to relationships. Some people are surrounded by family, some people aren't. Some people have a lot of friends, some people don't. A person has to realize that any situation, any matzav that Hashem puts a person in is optimal for their growing in Yiddishkeit. And then one has to thank Hashem for that and have bitachon that Hashem put him in the correct situation. That was number 3. Number 4 was binyan chiyuv halev. A person has an obligation to trust in Hashem. The first step is one has to focus his heart, focus his mind on avodas Hashem. That everything a person is doing is in order to come close to Kadosh Baruch Hu. And he has to put all his efforts into that. And then it's to dive into Hashem, that Hashem will make him have the proper thoughts and will guide him in the right path. Because even if a person decides to do the right thing, there's an element of bitachon one must have that Hashem is going to help him figure out what the right thing is. So that's up to Hashem. I can have the best intentions, make a mistake in my thinking, end up in the wrong place. So I have to ask Hashem not to make my decisions for me, but to help make sure that what I decide is sound. That was number 4. Number 5 was in areas where a person deals with other people. Bitachon when it comes to bein adam lechaver. A person can't be afraid. Let's say he or she feels to have to rebuke someone, and that person might be in a position of authority over them, or have the ability to hurt them both physically and financially. So a person has to make a cheshbon if he feels that this person needs to be rebuked, or this person is cheating, and I have to call him out on that, whatever it may be. So that requires bitachon that I'm doing the right thing, and no one can affect me, no one can hurt me if it's not decreed from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And when a person is giving tzedakah and he's involved in chesed, he has to do it with the right intention. He has to bitachon from Hashem that just because I donated this school, right? So I'm not going to gain from that, right? I would gain. HaKadosh Baruch Hu controls when I have a gain, when I have a loss. So even though I'm being mischased, I'm doing chasadim to people, I shouldn't think that now those people are going to be able to help me. I do my chesed l'shem shamayim and realize that Hashem runs the world. Those are the first 5 areas of bitachon that we saw last time. So continues the Orchos Tzadikim, bitachon hashishi, the 5th area of bitachon. Ba'olam hazeh, it's in this world. Sheyiftach belukim shlo yachileu ba'olam. Interesting. A person has that bitachon that Hashem is not going to give him his reward in this world. One has that bitachon that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to do what's best for him, and he'll have his reward in the world to come. That's number one. Number two, the yiftach boy shishmerehu mipigei ha'olam mitachaluim. A person has that bitachon that Hashem is going to protect him from bad things in this world, from disease, midever, from pestilence. Second, from pestilence, from cherev, from ra'av, from war, from famine, so one has to have bitachon that Hashem will protect him from these things. And when one does have that bitachon, he shouldn't have, the bitachon shouldn't be because of his good actions. I'm such a tzaddik, therefore Hashem is protecting me. All his actions should be done because of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That Hashem has done all this good for him. There's not one instant in a person's life, in the time of conception until they die. There is no instant where Hashem is not infusing them with an infinite amount of chesed, keeping them going. So when I daven to Hashem that He protects my health and He protects me from famine, it's not because I'm such a big tzaddik. Because I can't do anything. If my whole life I'd live 10,000, a million lifetimes just doing mitzvahs to Hashem, I can't pay back for one chesed Hashem has done to me. So when we make requests, it's never because we're loyal avodim to Hashem. It's always just throwing ourselves at Hashem's mercy. That's in the Jew davening to Hashem. So when it comes to this area of bitachon as well, that Hashem will protect him from bad things health-wise in this world, also it should be not because he's done mitzvahs, rather because it's a chesed from Hashem. The action, we should think, like we just said, if his actions would be double and quadruple what he's doing now, it wouldn't be 1/10,000th of what he's obligated, what he owes Hashem, so to speak. And therefore, yiftach al chasdei Hashem Baruch Hu. The Jews' approach is, it's all chesed, I don't deserve anything. That's how Avraham Yitzchak Yaakov did it. That's how Moshe Rabbeinu did it. The Avos, everyone, all the tzadikim, when they daven to Hashem, it's always Hashem, you're the ultimate Baal Chesed, please be mischased with me. That's how the Jew davens to Hashem. It's interesting, two ha'aras here, two thoughts. Number one, why is this a sixth category? This l'chayra should be subsumed in the first category. The first category was inyan hakuf adam, right? A person has bitachon Hashem when it comes to his health, and he does what's right, what's healthy, and he doesn't do what's unhealthy. So when it comes to health, you have to have bitachon Hashem. This also, it's physical needs, right? It's the inyan guf ha'adam, which is that he should have enough food, which is that he should be healthy, he shouldn't get hurt. So I'm not sure why it has to be a separate category of bitachon. And number two, bitachon is l'chayra, and we've seen it before here as well as in Chayvus Levavis. Bitachon is that whatever Hashem sends my way is what's best for me. So maybe a famine is good for this person. I mean, it's just interesting that the person should be davening. Although we have it in our tefillah for sure, we have it in Ma'ariv. We just daven Ma'ariv in the last bracha ben Skrishma before Shemon Esrei. We daven that Hashem, we shouldn't come to any Dever Rav, Cherev Rav, but shouldn't we? But if that does happen, it's for the best, right? Why should we daven for any specific thing? He said, bitachon is I trust in Hashem that I won't be in a famine, that I won't get sick. But why? People get sick, and that's good for them. It's easy to say that, but that's the truth, right? I would never say it to them, but whatever happens, whatever Kadosh Baruch Hu does, is for the best. And bitachon is to mekabel. How do we get into bitachon? Because a person has to accept whatever comes his way b'simcha. He's always going to be b'simcha. Whatever Hashem wants is going to happen. So why is the sixth element of bitachon to have bitachon that nothing bad will happen to him? Nothing bad, what I mean is, from our perspective, right? Maybe to have a famine for a couple of weeks is a good thing. He's not going to die from it, but it's going to strengthen him his resolve that Hashem runs the world. It's just interesting that bitachon is that nothing bad would come to him. I would have thought it would be bitachon is whatever comes to him is for the best. But the two questions, I don't have an answer at this point to this sixth chelik of bitachon. Okay, number 7, Bitachon HaShvi, the 7th area of Bitachon. Sheyiftach al HaMelech Malchei Mochem HaMoshe al HaKol Baruch Hu. One has trust in Hashem, the King of Kings, who controls the entire world. Sheyavi biyamav tshuva liyisrael. A person has to have bitachon that Hashem is going to bring salvation in my lifetime. It's a bitachon that a person has to have. V'yivne Yerushalayim, and Yerushalayim will be rebuilt. V'yivne Beis HaMikdash biyamav. One has to have bitachon that Hashem will build the Beis HaMikdash in his days. It's known that one of the famous Chassidish Rebbes, the Yismach Moshe, would put his Shabbos clothing by his bed every night, because Mashiach is going to come and he wants to greet Mashiach with in Shabbos clothing. So he had a Shabbos clothing every night by his bed. The Chavetz Chaim also, they have stories of the Chavetz Chaim where there was like a commotion outside at like 2 o'clock in the morning. Not like today, these days, but there was a commotion outside at 2 o'clock in the morning. And he said, what? He's here already? The Chavetz Chaim thought Mashiach is here? Like it was on their minds. So that's the 7th area of Bitachon, says the Orchos Tzadikim, that a person has to believe that the salvation, that Yerushalayim, at the Beis HaMikdash, will be rebuilt in his days. And not because then we want to have 5 maids and a few butlers, because in those days, it's going to be very geschmack for us. No, lechel peres toivus, to eat good food, l'shtois yain, asin, to drink the good wine. That should not be one's kavanah. That's not why a person wants the salvation, the Beis HaMikdash, to come in his days. The reason why we have bitachon, that the salvation will be in our days, is because then we can worship Hashem, we can serve Hashem in the best way. In those days, Hashem is going to take the Yetzer Hara away from man. Everybody, small people, big people, Yedu es Hashem. Everybody will know Hashem. We dive for this on Rosh Hashanah Kippur. Nothing's going to prevent us. There will be no obstacles in our service of Hashem. Everybody is going to have the time. Everyone will be free to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Everybody is going to be able to attain a certain understanding of Hashem that we don't have today. Knowledge and understanding will grow. The land will be full of knowledge of Hashem, like water and the yam cover the world. So when it's the bitachon, the salvation will come in my times, and then the entire world will be able to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's number 7. Number 8, bitachon hashmini. Al inyan olam haba. This relates to the world to come. There is a sweetness and a pleasure that is infinite. There's no kate, there's no boundary, there's no chayke, there's no way we can understand that level of geschmack that the Jew is going to have in the world to come. The mouth cannot explain the beauty of that world. The eye can't even perceive the splendor of the tzadikim. And there's no eating and there's no drinking. There's no eating and there's no drinking, so what kind of pleasure can be there? The person has to understand. A bird can't understand the pleasure of a fish swimming in the water. Why? Because, and vice versa, because the bird only can survive in the land and in the sky. And the fish can only survive in the water. So they can't even relate to each other's pleasures. Someone who's in this world who has the neshama mixed into his body can't understand the geschmack of the neshama. Because it's not a physical geschmack. It's not a physical pleasure. But it's a tainig mitanug mel yoinim. It's like a very high, sophisticated type of pleasure that a person cannot be masik, cannot comprehend in this world. And that's because we're in a physical world. So we can't appreciate, or we can only appreciate physical ta'anugim. But the ta'anug of the neshama is a constant ta'anug. So, for Mishizke El Maila Hahi Achar Moisul Lo Yev Elu Tanugim Kasher Lo Yev Melech Lachlis Me'olav Yokar Tifartoi Lischik Bechutzes Im Narim. Once we get to that world and we see that pleasure, we're no longer going to want to come back to this world and be involved in the pleasures here. Just like a king becomes a king, he loses the desire to run around outside like the wild people. Now he's a king. And the pleasure he gets is being a king. You can't compare that to the average person on the street. So the when you find a young king, a foolish king, that runs around with the kids in the street, it's because he doesn't understand, he can't differentiate between true hana and this false hana of running around. If we are in doubt, if we're not sure about whether the tainug, the pleasure in the world to come, is going to be equal to or greater than our pleasure in this world, it's because we're like that young, foolish king who thinks that the real tainug is outside running around with the kids in the street, but he doesn't realize that being the king, running the country, being in his palace, is a much greater tainug. So we can't really appreciate the tainug of the neshamas. So then it's a very interesting marshal. He says, there are pleasures in this world that are not physical pleasures, and this gives us some inkling into the pleasure that the neshama will have in the world to come. And again, that's the eighth area of bitachon, is the belief in olam haba, and that is going to be the most geshmaka place for us. So he says that when a person receives kavod, let's say he receives a lot of kavod, when a person has a child they haven't seen in a long time, and finally he sees the child, right? And they have a reunion. So there's a tremendous hana that a person experiences. When a person sees the children, following in the path, doing the right thing, there's a certain hana, and the grandchildren, there's the great-grandchildren, that you can't compare to any stake in the world. The pleasure a person has, those real pleasures when they connect with someone, those real pleasures when they see the long-lost relative they thought was gone, and now a person was sick and he came back, there was a complete recovery. The simcha and the tainug that a person has when he sees that, when he feels that, you can't compare it to any physical pleasure. Says the Orchos Tzadikim, that's in the aim. That is like a hint to this neshama dika spiritual type of pleasure the neshamas have in the world to come. So you can have the best meal in the world, but seeing one's child one hasn't seen back in the day, right? Yaakov Kamenetsky went to yeshiva, he was 10 years old. He went to yeshiva, and his parents sent him with a pair of tefillin because they're not going to see him until after his bar mitzvah. So you send away your 10-year-old child to go in yeshiva, and he comes back at 16, 17. I haven't seen him in 7 years. And he comes back with Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky, a young Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky. Imagine the hana, the pleasure his parents had. You can't compare it to the best steak, the best, whatever it was going to be, the best chicken. You can't compare it to anything physical. Says the Orchos Tzadikim, that is a me'ain, that's just a glimpse into the type of pleasure that awaits us in the world to come. As the pasuk says in Tehillim, Ma'rav tovcha asher tzofant l'reach. David Melech says, how great is the good that you have hidden for those who fear you. And that's something that we can't contemplate in this world. So Ben Hashem will pick up on Thursday. We'll be finishing up hopefully this bitachon section of Shaar Hasimcha, and we'll go back into the Simcha section of Shaar Hasimcha. Have a good night, everyone.
A quick comment.
Sure.
Your question, you can stop the recording if you want to. Your first question that you asked about the sixth Shaar, that's why we ask for a good and sweet year by Rosh Hashanah. In other words, if you just ask for everything a person should not have anything bad happen. I mean, that's only asking for part of it. So I was told by a Rav that we ask for good and sweet. So not only should it be good in our eyes, but it also should be sweet. And we should understand that it's a geschmack, no matter whether we perceive it as good or not, and it should still be sweet. So that's the same thing. If you say, don't send pestilence, don't send a famine, whatever, all the bad things. Well, throughout the Torah, Hashem moved Klal Yisrael around based on famines. They would bring a famine, and then Abraham would have to leave, or so sometimes that's a way of Hashem moving us around to the place that we need to be. So it's a good and sweet, not just don't do such and such.
Right. So that's why it's interesting that, like Avraham Avinu, right? Hashem sends him to. It's a great example. Hashem sends him to Eretz Yisrael, and then there's a family has to go down to Mitzrayim. And the Yidden went down to Mitzrayim with Yaakov Avinu, and that's eventually that they went to the Shiva to go to the Gul, to go to Eretz Yisrael. Those are all good things. So I think you're strengthening the question. So why is there bitachon that there won't be a famine? The bitachon should be, like you're saying, that we should perceive everything as sweet, and whatever happens is for our best. But why should there be a bitachon specifically that there shouldn't be a famine? If we've seen many examples of famines that were for our benefit.
Well, because when Hashem brings something, it's a huge madrega for us to say, this is for my best. Hashem's doing this because it's what's good for us. That's a darga that most people can't attain. But so we ask for those things that we perceive as bad. Don't do that, Hashem. Give us a message in a different way. Because if he challenges us, it's like Shlomo Melech challenged me with many wives and many horses, and he failed. Right? So we have to be realistic.
We don't want to come from these. Okay, that's it. We dive in loyally day Nisayin. Hashem should not bring us to any. We don't want to be tested.
Right. Well, we know the only way that we change is by being tested and responding to the test. That's the pressure that Hashem uses to mold us. But we have to be careful what we ask for. Test me in this area, Hashem. Where in reality, it's an area that we really don't want to be tested in.
Right. Right here?
All right, just some thoughts. Thank you.
Okay, no, Shkoyach. Thank you, Dr. Berman. Okay, everyone, have a good night.
Be well.